Okay, Blender 2.8 tutorial. Alright, so in this one we're going to go through the process of editing a video. So Blender, for anybody that doesn't know, is a fully featured 3D animation studio. It does pretty much everything you could think of. But one of the things it does really well is allows you to edit videos. So we're going to go through that process right now. This is the default screen when you first open it up. You go under New, under Video Editing. Now in previous versions this was a layout that you could select from a little drop down up here on the top, but they've moved it all around. So the first thing we need to do is adjust our settings over here in the top right. So I'm going to leave mine at 1920 by 1080. You can adjust that depending on what you're trying to do. Frame rate will automatically adjust when you import your first movie file, and that can, well, I'll show you some stuff with that in a minute, but basically when you import the movie file you'll get your video timeline and your audio timeline. As long as they line up, then you don't need to mess with the frame rate. If they don't line up, then you might need to adjust this. I'll show you that later. Output, we're gonna go ahead and pick a output folder. I'm going to choose my D drive, and then I have a folder called volume out. And then we're going to come down. Now the file format, we want to change this from PNG because it would just create a bunch of individual files. We're going to do FFmpeg, and then right here we got to change the encoding. So let's change this to MPEG 4, and then we want to leave it as H264, and then for the audio we're going to change this to MP3. Okay. Now all the rest of this stuff isn't very important. You can thumb through these things and make changes if you want to, but for the most part, once you've got those set, you're pretty much done for that. Now you can save this whole layout and your changes and everything by going to File, and then Defaults, and then Save a Startup File. Then when you open up Blender again, it will open up to this. So the next thing we want to do is we want to start adding movies to our timeline. So this down here is the sequencer, and there's a little tiny arrow thing right here on the side. If you click on it, you'll get this other window slide out, and then you can adjust this a little bit. Now this new, I guess it's a new feature, I didn't see it in the previous one, but it allows you to drag movies and files and stuff directly from your folder into the thing. But it seems like clicking on these directories sometimes will cause it to hang because it's pretty slow. So we're going to go down here. I'll just show you for an example. Go into videos, and we have some here, but now you can see it's hung. When I try to scroll up and down, it's stuck. That says not responding. But that's because it's trying to generate these little thumbnails and stuff, and it seems to work still. It just takes a little while for it to catch up to what you're doing. And maybe it's just because that directory, my /videos folder, is like really big. It's quite large. You can also, no, there it goes. So finally caught up. So you can also add the movies by going here to the add and then movie. And doing it this way, you don't have to deal with the lag, but you don't get to see the little thumbnail picture of what it is. So what I was doing before is I'd open up another file viewer so I could see these, so I knew which one it was, and then just import the one I needed. But for the sake of this, let's go into our girls' desks. So you can see here's all the videos from the girls' desk video that we made a while back. And let's grab let's grab this this first video right here. Now we can just drag and drop it right onto the timeline, and you can see it loads. Or we could also, and I'm just clicking and holding shift with left, and you can click delete, or the letter X on your keyboard will delete the files. Or you can also add movie, and you can go to, oh, I was already there. I was already in gross discs. And you can add it this way as well, which I don't remember which one it was. That one? Oh, it doesn't matter. Anyway, that's the other way you can add them. So now you'll see that there's the actual scene here is actually really short. It's only 250 frames, and you can see our video is 19,470 frames. So we need to adjust this, because if you're playing through it and try to edit, it's gonna, as soon as the play hits here, it's gonna loop. It's gonna start looping. So we're gonna adjust this. You just click in this box, you type in however many you need. We're gonna go 20,000, and you can see it extended it all the way out. Now, with your mouse button, you can mouse wheel to zoom in and out on this, so you can see more frames, or zoom in and see it. When you hold the mouse button down, you can drag this timeline left and right. Okay? So that's how you do that. Now, as I mentioned before, this is 19,700 or 470. If this had been a different frame rate, these numbers would be different. So, for example, if I was to change this to 25, you'll see how it shortens the audio. Okay. So you want to make sure that you're on the right frame rate so that these numbers are the same. If you import the video and they're not the same, then pick a different frame rate and see if you can get them close. Okay. Now, let's zoom all the way out so we can see. Now we can see our scene here, and we can see our video fits within the scene. And when we click play, you'll see up here on the top the video playing through. And you can pause it, or you can drag this time bar around and see, fast forward, and you can kind of get a feel for where you're at and what you want to see. So for the sake of this video, we're just going to do a couple of really simple edits. So we don't really need it to be this long. We actually want to make a really short one. So we are going to come all the way in here and move our timeline. Okay, so this is where you start. So let's go ahead and say that we're going to do a transition, and we're going to cut some of this out. Okay, so let's do this. Let's go from this page. We're going to cut here, and we're just going to cut out the flip of this board, because we don't need to see that, and that just takes time, and people aren't interested in that anyway, right? So we're going to go to the beginning of that, and we're going to left click and then shift left click and then the letter K, and it splits these two, and now we have technically two separate movies. Now we're going to fast forward again to where it's right, it's flipped over, and okay, right in here somewhere, right there's good, and we're going to select them again, hold shift and K. Now we're going to left click this one, shift left click that one, and the letter X or the delete key, and we're gonna shift click again on these, and the letter G, which lets you move them. Now you'll see that when they start to overlap, they turn red. If you do that and then just left click again, they'll automatically adjust to the last keyframe, so you don't have to worry about lining them up perfectly. You can just flip it. Okay, so now when we watch the video, you can see we just went straight to the flipped board. Okay, and that's pretty much how you would do your cuts. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and trim the video all the way down to right here. So we're going to cut this again. We're going to delete this. And now we have this really short video with one cut in it. And we're going to put the keyframe right on the cut. If you use your page up and page down button, you'll see it jumps right to the right point. So you put it right in the middle, and then we're going to add a little transition. Now to do that, we need to add two things. We need to add a color bar, and we need to adjust, we need to adjust where that color bar sits. So we're going to click right on it, and we're going to hit G, and we're going to move it over. Now, if you notice, when I first clicked on that, you can see there's two arrows. There's arrows on both sides here and arrows on both sides there. If you click on just the arrow and then try to move it, you're only going to move that one side of the handle. Okay. If you want to move the entire thing, you have to click in the middle so that it moves the entire thing. Okay. Now we're going to add a transition to this, and because we want the transition to start from here and go to that, we click this first and then that. Then we click our add transition and we do a gamma cross. And then we're going to do the same thing again. We're going to click it again, and then this time we're going to click the video because we're going to go from this to that. And do another transition and a gamma cross. Now you'll see when we slide this, it'll do a nice fade, a little transition. Okay. Now, because we've chopped off the rest of our video, we're going to go to the end and see down here in the corner, this tells you how many frames you're using. So there's only 214. So we're going to go ahead and change this again to 214, and that chops our scene right at the very end. Okay, and that is all we really need to do for the very basics. So now we're going to render this, and come up here to render, and then render animation, and it pops open a new window, which I will show, which is over here. Let me bring it over here so you can see it. It's huge because that's how big I'm rendering. Okay, and that's it. It's complete. Okay, so now you can go ahead and save your movie or whatever it is you're doing, and when you come back out, you would go to something like VLC and go to media, open file, and we're in the video out directory already, so we're going to pick this one here, and we're going to see the video that we just made along with the transition. Audio sounds good, everything looks good, and that's it. So once you've done that, you're ready to upload it, and that is all she wrote.